Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Vanchakalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhuve Bhaja Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Shri Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, Dandavat Pranam, devotees. I think perhaps this is a concluding question and answer session on something we've been discussing over the past week or so, more or less. And it's regarding perhaps the relativizing of the position of Sri Guru, and of course the genesis of the conversation was about, again, a class that I had heard and that I felt that I needed to comment on, and it was regarding the controversial statements of Srila Prabhupada in his writings, books, room conversations, morning walks, etc. So I think we've adequately dealt with at least what I could offer in trying to give some Guru Sadhu Sastra perspective as best I've understood on that issue. Again, I'm always open to correction, always open to further discussion on the issue, as long as it is always civil and it is Vaishnav. But I received one more question last night, and it was pretty much a long, not the question was so long, but the thread of getting to the question was very long. And several issues were brought up about the history of the position of Guru and how that was viewed. And so, just paraphrasing and in short, the question revolved around the humanizing of the position of Guru. So I didn't think maybe that was the best terminology, because it was, and I don't think the devotee at all meant it like that. He didn't, in fact, because from the rest of what he wrote, I could understand that that was not the intention, to say that humanizing of the Guru was something negative. He was just saying that over the course of history, there has been, and I don't mean general history, I mean institutional history, there has been kind of a humanizing, and in this case, humanizing means relativizing of the position of Guru. And they were asking, if I thought that this was due to the possibility that there was a need to find some rationale for many things that we saw happen in terms of those having taken the position of Guru and having fallen from that position, or those who prematurely took that position and ran into some obstacle. So that was the general gist of the idea. He also brought up the idea of the conception of a Guru in good standing at a particular time. And he did that in relation to showing how that was perhaps the beginning of rationalizing the whole notion of making the position of Guru relative. That when we rationalize that someone was Guru at some point in good standing and then fell away from that by the influence of Maya, then this was proof that the position of Guru itself was being compromised and made relative. So I completely agree with that position. And I wrote back to him as much that I also agree that things like that, first of all, perhaps the accepting of the position of Guru prematurely and not transparently could have been the cause of then the future reaction to the results of prematurely accepting the position of Guru and the things that happen, people falling down, different kinds of Mayic things coming in and overrunning those personalities. And then the institutional idea that, well, Guru may not be always perfect, but they may have been Guru at a particular time and then later become victimized. And perhaps this is some humanizing of the position of Guru, etc. So, long story short, I agree with that narrative, that actually it was detrimental, which is what he concluded, and has affected the understanding we have now. I won't say that that's necessarily, that part is all factual, because people may have different understandings. But the idea of having, first of all, allow the idea that Guru was anything except what is mentioned in Sadhu and by sadhus and in Sastra, was already a compromising of the position of Guru. If Gurus describe Tadvidi pranipatena parikrishnena sevaya upadekshyanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshan. So tattvadarshan means they have seen the absolute truth. So, of course, there's many nuances to that, and we could try to discuss all of that, but the indication here is that that person who has accepted the position of Guru is tattvadarshi. They have capacity to see the absolute truth. Even in the discussion of what is a real sadhaka, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pada in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu has described that a person who is Sakshat Krishna Krita Yoga, Sadhaka Parikirtita. A person is a sadhaka who has eligibility to have the darshan of Krishna. It means that their chitta, their consciousness, is clear. Because when the consciousness is clear, it can accommodate the reflection of Krishna that comes from the influence of Swarup Shakti, or the internal spiritual energy. If the chitta is not clear, then it cannot capture that even reflection of Krishna on the consciousness, what to speak of the actual sporty of Krishna clearly. So, I agree fully that the idea that not being in that position of tattvadarshi, not being in the position of, what is it, the other verse? Tasmat Guru Papajeta Jigyasho Shreyatamam. Being fixed in the position Brahma Upamasrayam. That a person being fixed in the transcendental position, right? Shabda Pare Chanishnatam Brahma Upamasrayam. That a person not being fixed in that transcendental position and taking the post of Guru, right? Whether it have came by the influence of Guru Abhiman personally, or it came by one of the four things Srila Jiva Goswami Pad in Bhakti Sandarbha has mentioned should not be criteria for Guru, which is hereditary, customary, social, or ecclesiastical considerations. So whatever means the inadequacy of a person in terms of being Guru then took that position and subsequently had difficulty, and then in order to perhaps, I don't know, patch that, sort of breach of faith and patch that potential crises of faith in the institution, to then come up with concepts and constructs that are not in Sastra, like a person was Guru in good standing at the time, or that the Guru has a human quality and therefore they can fall under the influence of Maya, etc., etc. All of these things did lead to the relativizing of the position of Guru. So now we come to the junction point where, if that's become the normative thinking, that Guru is a position that has some ability to be compromised because there's a human conditioned element to it, even though people may not add the word condition, but some kind of human element, meaning some kind of fragility in their ability to be absolute, and therefore they can make mistakes, they can perhaps not understand something in the material world, though they may be spiritually competent. All these kind of considerations may have been born from that ideal that was put out at that time. All of these different rationales of why people fell away, etc., and not clearly describing, no, the person was not qualified at the time. And even if the effort was sincere to do service, that I will take the post of Guru in order to try to serve my Guru by increasing the Vaishnav Mandal, but I'm not qualified, having not been transparent, and also perhaps unable to digest Labdha, Puja, and Pratishta, which are some of the elements that come when you have the position of Guru, then it corrupted their consciousness, and therefore there was fall downs and different kinds of things and deviant activities and so forth and so on. So as an aspiring devotee, the peaks and valleys of our unfoldment may be there. We may face difficulties. But if you take the position of Guru or Acharya, then that cannot be there. Because the reposing of faith by aspirants is that the position that you hold as Guru is absolute. It is Sakshaharitva. It is the position of Bhagavan himself. Right? So I'm not saying Guru is Bhagavan. So obviously nobody who's been in Krishna consciousness for a minute should conflate that I'm saying that Guru is Krishna. I'm saying Sakshaharitva means by being the prakash, the manifestation of Akhanda Guru Tattva, Baladeva, Nityananda Prabhu, they represent the absolute position. And they have no Guru Abhiman. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, one bhajan is written, what is this? Ami Sisha Tava Takiya Savara Guru Abhimana Tyaji. May the mood of Guru Abhiman, right? Guru Abhiman means I am a Guru, right? I am an Acharya. And the perception of yourself as such is called Guru Abhiman. Because Guru is not a personal accomplishment. It's not like getting a promotion in a corporation, right? So I go from one of the workers in the mailroom to going to more of a mid-level management, then higher level management, then perhaps a partner. No, it's not like that kind of progression, right? Actually, Guru is a position of absolute seva, and it is self-effulgent. It cannot be bestowed. It is not an ecclesiastical privilege that you hold to give to someone whom the group agrees with, or who the group likes, or who the group feels is in line with our ideological, philosophical ideals. So we're going to promote that person because they help to nourish the consensus we all have about everything. That's not Guru. Nor is Guru a social consensus of people who just like the mood of that person, what they can perceive in their conditioned state. No. Guru is a self-effulgent position of absolute truth. Therefore, you can go to that person and they can remove any doubt you have by the nature of Siddhant. Because even Rupa Goswami Pad says someone who has Uttamadhikar and eligibility of the practice of sadhana bhakti, right? Sastrayukti Suni Punya, I quoted this verse the other day, Sastrayukti Suni Punya, Jurishara Yandra, Uttamadhikari se Tare Sangsar. So here Uttamadhikar means Uttamadhikar in their eligibility for the practice of sadhana. It means their ability to practice is very ideal because they have Sastra and Sastra Yukti. That means they know Sastra and have good understanding of Sastra, and their faith in a sadhu and in anugatya to a sadhu has become very firm, and therefore they are suitable to Tare Sangsar, means they can also help others to get out of the cycle of samsara. But interesting wording here. Tare Sangsar, they can help others break the cycle of material bondage and attachment. But it doesn't necessarily say that they can bestow prema bhakti. So that's interesting. That's interesting even in the translation of the verse, right? They can help a person to get free from the samsara, but it doesn't say they have the potency to bestow prema bhakti. And that's because the Swarup Shakti, which is the invested property of a Paramaswatantra Bhagavat Bhakta, right? That means that Bhagavan himself bestows on either a Nitya associate who descends to this world, or that person who has come into realization in the stage of Bhava, Shakti, high level of bhajan life, they bestow by Bhagavan the ability to distribute Bhagavad Bhakti to others. So that position is acquired by Bhagavan. It's not acquired by an ecclesiastical body, or it's not acquired by social consensus of conditioned souls. Ah, that person is really cool, they're guru. So our Srila Prabhupada more than 60 times quotes one verse, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tava Pavartan. That it is Krishna Shakti which empowers someone to preach as our Srila Prabhupada was preaching. So being imbued with Swarup Shakti and the power of Akhanda Guru Tattva, as Vyasti Guru, as the individual manifestation of that potency, Srila Prabhupada was Guru Acharya of the whole world. And also those who are on that level, right? So it does not mean that others cannot serve that level, but they have to do so in transparency, and they have to do so with the mood that if there is a person whom is of the level of the embodiment of Swarup Shakti, oh, I will go there. And also, if I've taken you as a disciple, we will all go there. If that doesn't happen, there may be indication, Pratishta Asta Drashta. In Manasiksha of Raghunath Das Goswami Pad, he's mentioned that Pratishta Asha, the desire that comes from name and fame, Drashta means is audacious. Why? Because Pratishta, or pride, doesn't recognize itself. And one can be tasting the influence of pride and not even realize it. And therefore, it is always the position that I want to remain in anugatya of my Guru Vargas, right? And anugatya, the word anu has different meanings. Anu means continuous, anu means continuous, it also means following, but anutva also means minute, means small. So it's an inference about humility. That I should think, oh, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Tai Sisha Tava Takya Savara. I always consider I'm a Sishya. I'm a disciple of my Guru Parapadma. Not that Guru Abhimanas Kam, I am Guru. So perhaps because some of these things happen and the byproducts of that produce some unpalatable and unfavorable results, and then there was a need to try to I don't want to use the word cover because that may sound like something insidious, and I don't want to indicate that, but the desire to try to maybe artificially in some ways, because not by giving knowledge, but artificially protect the basis of devotees being able to trust, investing their faith. There was a kind of relativizing of the position of Guru to accommodate these things. I mean, at some point, some devotees were saying that some deviations by those who had deviations were a kind of Leela, because the Acharya has a Leela, the Acharya Leela, right? But once the Acharya manifests the self-effulgence as an Acharya, these kind of deviant activities don't go on in the name of Leela. That the Acharya was born in a certain place, raised in a certain way, perform certain kinds of activities during the course of their Leela before they manifest their Prabhav or their influence as Acharyas. That's called Acharya Leela. Not I became Acharya and then I was performing some deviant activities and that's also part of a Leela. No, that's apasidhantic. So anyways, my point being that when there was a attempt to sort of, I don't know, smooth over or try to reconcile these things, and all these different conjectures came up. It's, oh, it's a Leela. No, well, gurus could have been Guru in good standing at a certain time, but then they fell away. So all of these things participated in the conceptions that are now prevalent about the relativizing of the position of Guru. Hence, to our original point, the idea that when the conditioned soul could not reconcile something spoken by Al Srila Prabhupada, the influence of that relativizing tendency kicks in. And we start to apply it to Srila Prabhupada, but thinking not directly, but thinking, well, no, Srila Prabhupada is perfect. It's just that in material things, he's not perfect. Or Srila Prabhupada is perfect. He's a pure devotee, but he may not be aware of certain material dynamics. Or he's a pure devotee, but he comes down from the purest platform in order to preach. And therefore, there is some human, meaning conditional human tendencies that come in his being here to preach. All of which have no support in Sastra anywhere. So the idea here, and I've already done that, so I'm not going to reiterate it. I'm not going to, prolong, that train of thought. But I'm just speaking, and hopefully probably finally in this particular tape, to the fact that this devotee was accurate. That many things have come in over the course of years into relativizing the position of Guru. Also, I would say an absence of maintaining connection with seniority of realization in the whole Vaishnav Mandal due to institutional politics, I think also contributed to much misunderstanding and hence relativizing of the position of Guru, because then the idea became, well, my Guru can be as good as your Guru, and so it's like a whole competitive Guru consciousness that comes in, and an institutional competitive consciousness that comes in, and therefore, the attempt to elevate the status of a person to be equalized with another institution, and all these kind of different dynamics help to relativize the position of Guru. And as a result, it may have led to the overall consciousness in the society that we can start to look at things not as Guru being an absolute transcendental position, but a position that can have variations according to how we subjectively are experiencing things. So, giving the example that if Srila Prabhupada says something about women or a particular racial group or particular gender orientation, sexual orientation or something, then we can now make a subjective evaluation on those statements, right? And we can dismiss the absolute position of Srila Prabhupada or put it in a certain box and now deal with those statements separate from his being absolute. And therefore, take a particular view of the statements themselves, absent of reconciling the fact that they're coming from an absolute perfected person who's beyond the four defects. I've already mentioned that, which means the tendency to commit mistakes, be illusioned, etc. Right? Unfortunately, even people are beginning to say, well, having a view like that is an extreme position. Of course, it's Guru, Sadhu, and Sastra, which would indicate that those who promote that in Guru, Sadhu, and Sastra are extreme. I don't know. But the idea here is that it's a dangerous thing, because the only contact we have in the position of aspiration in bhakti with the transcendental experience is through the position of Guru. And if we think that the Guru is a relative position, then everything is relative. It is the manifestation of Bhagavan in our purview. And if we relativize that under any kind of subjective considerations, then we've lost contact with absoluteness. There has to be something that's absolute. There has to be something you can put your faith in that's absolute. And Sri Guru is the manifestation in our experience of that principle. Because we've not seen Radhakrishna. We've not seen Mahaprabhu. I'm speaking generally. If you are so fortunate you've had Darshan, Mahaprabhu, Radhakrishna, I offer my Dandavat Pranam at your lotus feet sincerely. But if you are in the stage of aspiration, then Sri Guru is everything. And the need to be able to have absolute ability to repose faith there. Acharyam Vijnaniyam. You should know the Acharya as myself. This is Krishna's own statement. So we have to have that absoluteness. Whatever the Acharya says, I have to reconcile that as being something that's absolutely correct, but I have to be able to see it. That we can have a discussion on. Not the potential that the statements are wrong, but the potential of our interpretation, our understanding, our relation to the statements could be wrong. Of course, we exhaustively dealt with the idea that the basis of not being the body is very important, because that's the foundational threshold over which we cross to experience being in Krishna consciousness. If we're going to bring that with us into the realm of aspiration in Krishna consciousness, the road will be very rocky, because every single thing that triggers anything about our present bodily condition, then we'll have trouble with. So that has to be the basis of everything. I'm not the body. Therefore, first of all, any discussions that Srila Prabhupada has is not an address to me. It's an address to my conditioning to the material energy, what Srila Prabhupada may be critiquing or criticizing or even outright chastising, right, in some way, form, or fashion. But it's not me, because I'm the soul. I'm in a temporal arrangement with the material energy in which I'm very desperately and sincerely breaking. So to hold on to any of those upadis, they're called, right, that are based in ahamkar, why would I do that? Why would I hold on to the idea I am a woman, I am a man, I am black, I am white, I am rich, I am poor, I am fat, I am skinny? Right? Why would I hold on to that? So therefore, if the absolute representation of God has criticized some quality or characteristic about those things, why would I become upset or take umbrage? So these are serious considerations. And again, I think we're going to conclude here. I don't think, even if somebody writes in, I don't want to keep going over this, because then the tendency will be that this could go on forever and ever, because everybody will have a question about it or a statement. And more or less, this person was really only asking the question, how do I think these things affected the particular, meaning the stuff I spoke about earlier, the whole relativizing of the position of Guru, how do I think that affected this particular situation where people have some doubt about things that Srila Prabhupada said? So I'm agreeing with him that I do think it did have some influence in the thinking that's come into somehow the Vaishnava institution, that Guru has some fragility regarding their ability to be absolute in terms of material things, etc., etc. So yeah, I do agree with him on this point, and I'm responding to him as I've done to many things by this Facebook Live, in order to give the opportunity for other devotees to chime in and to also either give some elucidation or also to be benefited, or they may have a question or something. But again, I don't want to kind of prolong the topic, so, you know, and then there's also a tendency, and I don't know why, a lot of devotees will write to the inbox. So if you have a question, unless you want to keep private, I understand it, but other than that, you can write the question into the thread so that other people can see it, and perhaps the discussion can also go on with others, right? Because I'm not, like I said, going to entertain every question that comes in by doing it on Facebook Live. First of all, you know, I think the issue's been significantly dealt with, and secondly, you know, there's other questions and other things and so forth and what have you. All right. My Dandavat Pranam, Vancha Kalpaturuvishcha, Kripa Sindhavevacha, Patitanam Pavanevyo, Vaishnavevyo, Namo Namaha. I'm also begging forgiveness for anyone who, especially in the original conversation that I gave, because I pretty passionately presented it, but that was never intended to be directed at anyone personally. I was speaking about the subject matter in general, and the things that I mentioned about corollary issues to that, whether it was about, you know, dependence on education and educational institutions as a marker for bhakti or advancement in bhakti, or the ability to perceive things in bhakti, I genuinely stand by that. I think education is a wonderful thing, and I think in any chosen field that you have in your secular life, I think there's certainly, you know, education is a very valuable thing. Like I said, I went to college as well, so I understand it. But I don't think that we can hold academic recognition as a standard bearer for carrying the flag of our Goswamis. If you study the literature of the Goswamis and in concert with our Guru Varga, you make presentations, that's the stamp of approval, not whatever documentation has been granted by any institution that's not the school of Srila Rupa Goswami Pad, Jiva Goswami Pad, etc., etc. So again, I'm not devaluing, because I believe even there's some very sincere devotees, and even in the conversation that the particular devotee, where the genesis of this whole thing came from, devotee that was bringing it up, I think does a very valuable service in the academic community. And I know other devotees who are working very hard in the academic community and preaching very nicely and doing many wonderful services for the spreading of Krishna consciousness. So don't at all confuse my more heated statements about not depending on academia as a hallmark to understanding bhakti. There are two different things. Your service in the community and your accomplishments in the academic community versus when we're talking about Siddhanta, especially when we're talking about issues that are very sensitive and so forth. We don't have any other recourse except the authority that comes down in our Guru Parampara. So just wanted to clear that up as well. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Gadara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Jai Radhe Radhe.